Friends, thanks so much for being part of our spring life groups. Tonight is the last of your gatherings for this study time anyways. Maybe your life group, you'll want to get together just to hang out, maybe sometime this summer or sometime in the next couple of weeks, enjoy each other's company, have a barbecue, whatever you want to do. I do have a survey I'd like for you to fill out. I may have it for you tonight. We'll see how the week goes, but I need you to complete that at some point so we can get some feedback. And if I don't get it to you now, I do know where you live, so we'll track you down. I do hope that you've had a good time together. You've had some interesting conversations during your time together as you talk about heaven. As we wrap up the discussion about heaven tonight, I want to talk about being heavenly minded. You probably heard the saying, Christians shouldn't be so heavenly minded that they are no earthly good. I get the idea behind that, right? I mean, we shouldn't be so focused on the next life and going to heaven and all that stuff, sweet by and by, that we don't live out our faith in Jesus here and now and making things better now. I think that's right. But I also think that we shouldn't be earthly minded. We should be heavenly minded. In fact, the Bible tells us that we should think about heaven. As we considered last week, Paul tells us in Colossians that we should set our minds on things above. So it is good to be heavenly minded. It's good to think about heaven. And as I said before, the older I get, the more I think about heaven. And the more I realize that this world, it's not my forever home. The Bible says that heaven is our home. The Bible says that we are citizens of heaven, that city of God, that's my home. My dad, my aunt, my papa, and hopefully my mom have already gone to heaven. And I have a bunch of friends in heaven, and I know that you do too. The fact is, this world is filled with trials and tribulations, challenges and disappointments and frustrations. These bodies, they were not meant to last forever. And the older we get, the more we struggle with these bodies. And the world, it presses in on us and it tries to get us to put our hope and faith in this world. That the world tells us that we need to live for the now. The world says this is all there is, so this is all that matters. Perhaps you've heard of YOLO, you only live once, so go and do whatever makes you happy because YOLO, you only live once. Or maybe you've heard of FOMO, that's the fear of missing out. The world says you don't want to miss out. You don't want to have FOMO. You got to get to it now because you don't want to miss out on all the good stuff. I don't know what those good things are, missing out on what, but there it is. Here's what I believe. The hope of heaven frees us from this world's system and values. The gospel tells us that there's more than just what this world is trying to sell us. There's more than what we see. Don't just live for the now. There's a God, and we were meant to know him and to worship him forever. There is meaning and purpose in all of the things that we experience in this life. I can set my mind on things above. And when I do that, I'm not worried about missing out on things here and now, grabbing what we can, because I don't have to worry about that. I have an eternity to spend with the source of all joy, with God himself. I will be in his presence. I will be in the fullness of all joy. We will get to drink and eat from the fountain of the source. We are free from this world's expectations now because as Christians, we march to the beat of a different drum. We don't have to be conformed to this world because we are being transformed by the gospel, by the hope of heaven. This is how we renew our minds, as the Bible tells us to do. We are free from this world's disappointments, from this world's striving for ease and for comfort, to do anything and everything you can to avoid the hard stuff and the trials and the suffering. But for the Christian, even the hard stuff has a greater purpose. You see, God doesn't save us from the hard stuff. He saves us through the hard stuff. This principle is at the very heart of the gospel. In fact, Jesus saves through his suffering. And for what's true for Jesus, it has to be true for his followers too. Jesus doesn't save us from the hard stuff. He saves us through the hard stuff. The very thing that you think is destroying your life is actually the thing that God can use to save your life, to shape your life, to mold you into him, to drive you to himself, to make you more like Jesus, and to give you the ability to care for and serve others who also go through the same hard stuff you've been through. If you can get this, you can be free from the world's disappointment, and it will transform your experience of the hard stuff in your life. Listen to what Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 4. He says, though outwardly we are wasting away, our inner selves are being renewed day by day, because verse 17 says, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. Now this is a mysterious verse, but Paul is saying that whatever affliction that we are experiencing this side of heaven, it is producing in us a weight of glory beyond comparison on the other side. Oh, friends, that's such good news. The trials and the difficulties that we face now, they will be washed away by an ocean of grace in God's presence in heaven. Whatever pains we have in these years, y'all, we have an eternity of joy and goodness and gladness and glory waiting for us in heaven. Eternity. I can't even begin to wrap my little pumpkin brain around the idea of eternity. Don't you see? The more you understand heaven, the more you set your minds on things above, the more real it becomes. And when we are heavenly minded, the better we understand this world for what it is. It's temporary. It's fading. It's passing away. Oh, you know the old song, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. It's exactly right. When we turn our eyes upon Jesus, the things of this earth grow dim. We stop focusing on all of our worries and our challenges and our disappointments in this world, and we start to see the true blessings of God and all the blessings he has in store for us in heaven. In your groups tonight, perhaps you can think about ways that you can continue to set your mind on things above. It's good to think about God's future kingdom. This is what faith is for. Jesus tells us to take heart because he has overcome this world. And he has. He's overcome the sufferings and the difficulties of this world. And he sets us free to live now and forever, to live the abundant life now and forever. Now, maybe you know someone who needs that kind of hope, that needs the hope of heaven. Maybe you know someone who has let the trials and pressures of this world just drag them down and push them around. Friends, talk to them about the hope you have in heaven. Remind them that this is not all that there is. In fact, be so heavenly minded that you share this good news with others, that they will spend eternity with you. This is the best news that we have to share. So share it with anyone and everyone.